goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. To the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, rider. I get those goosebumps every time. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the high, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mugs.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We are back. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Loading Mag NUFC, the Play transfer special. Just saying before we went live, we didn't think we'd be quite talking about transfers at this stage, but we're here. We are here because there is lots to talk about and lots of transfer news to discuss. And I can see people in the chat already putting their names out, who they want, their questions are coming in. It's going to be an interesting one. Make sure you do that. Questions, click that like while you're there and strap in because it's going to be a very interesting conversation. And as Daz is just, I think Daz put it on the bottom of the screen. Super chat is open. So put your super chats in and we will prioritize those questions and put them right up to the top and make sure we discuss them first and foremost. But boy, how are you on this fine Wednesday evening? Daz, I know you just rocked in from work, so how's things?
Yeah, well, not even that. All this talk about Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe, this gets into work early, does and does a great job. Hey, I didn't get to bed till after 11 last night, uploading the stream, up at 6, driving 1 hour to work, 8 hours work, drive back home 1 hour, home, eat dinner, get out on the training pitch, helping with the coaching of the under-9s and the GAs back today, and then straight into this. So, yes, we go again. Where's my statue? Where's our statue, boys?
Wait, tell you what,
how are you?
Go, sorry, go for it. Go on, Chris. How are you, fella?
Oh, sorry. I'm all good. Yeah, I'm wondering now. Are we getting a statue? It'd be good if we got a statue, wouldn't it? I didn't even think about it.
Bit
early. Yeah, maybe. But no, I'm all good. Busy day. Not as busy as yours from the sounds of it, Daz. But yeah, busy day, mate. But yeah, really looking forward to talking transfers tonight. As I said to you boys pre-show, it suddenly dawned on me. I was like, oh my God. I mean, we know ourselves, in work, you have your busy periods, don't you? And whenever you talk about transfers and loaded, it's a busy period. So I'm excited. I'm also a bit nervous because obviously in the last few transfer windows, it hasn't quite panned out how we expected. But I am nervously excited is what I would say. And I hope that it's going to be a big one. And it's great that we're talking about it this evening. Let's get it in there early. Let's get these conversations out there. But yeah, I on a personal level, boys, I'm all good. Pete, how are you doing, mate? How are you feeling, Pete?
Yeah, I was just saying to Dad just before you came on, Chris, I was a bit worried because I couldn't speak today, at work. My voice went. And I had members of my team that kind of go around getting strepsils and cough sweets and all sorts to try and get me to speak. Yeah, I wish. I wish. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I was a bit worried. I couldn't get my words out at all. But there was a woman who had these sweets, the little cough sweet things. Apparently, singers and actors and stuff use it to clear out their throat.
Is it a Sky thing? Sky TV, Sky Sports thing, no?
Don't you start. What
if they go on today? What if they got on the floor today?
Bad enough with Johnny, let alone you, Jesus. But she gave me these sweets, and they are absolutely not fisherman friends to a point of phrase. I thought they might be, but they're not. They're absolutely disgusting. I don't know what they are. They're in this silver tin, But I could only chew it for like 10 minutes. I said to Daz, I had to spit it out and put it in the bin. It was disgusting. But it did the job within 10 minutes. My throat felt so much better. So I'm going to have to nab a few more.
Finds out the name for us.
She got from a pharmacy somewhere. But yeah, I'm going to find out. So other than that, I'm great. Feel absolutely. And I did see William Smith. He's got his statue for you right there. It did make me chuckle.
Thanks, William. I always preferred the other William Smith anyway. The other William Smith. He's my favorite. Where's he got to actually? There's only two William Smiths.
Now there's a bit of a war. Creating wars now. This is crazy. But look, we're back to talk all things transfers, people. Look, we've got obviously a bit of time up until the summer. So why not discuss what's potentially coming on? Friday, end of the week is a brand new day for me. So yeah, I'll definitely tuck into that. But the honey and lemon until now, I will try. For sure, but thank you for that suggestion, Harry. Boys, lots to talk about. We're not good. We'll put it out there now, people. We're not going to get for everything tonight, but that's okay. It means we can talk transfers more as the weeks go on, and there's so much to discuss, boys. That is for sure. But before we do that, let's tell everyone about our new sponsor, and well done to everyone that's been buying tickets. These tickets are selling up. So we'll do another little talk through on our new sponsor. And if anyone hasn't, get your tickets now. That is for sure. So I don't know, Daz, did you want to talk through the sponsors?
Yeah, I can do. I did such a great job yesterday winging it, so why not? Our new sponsor, Football Prizes, and it's their biggest ever Newcastle competition. And I remember looking at Football Prizes in the past, and I don't think it was this cheap to enter. 39p to enter, and look, there are 35,000 tickets. But last time I checked, there was heading towards about 20,000 left. So they've already sold at least 15,000. So and there's not just one prize, and this immaculate signed jersey by all the players, but there's 66 prizes or something like that. And there's like a Dan Burn match-worn shirt against Villa where he kept clean sheet. Joe Linton and Tunali signed shirt and framed as well. They look class in the frame. They really do a great job there on framing things. But yeah, this is one of Joe Linton on his own shirt. Tino Livramento. There's medals. There's caps. There's loads and loads of stuff. I advise you. The link is in the description of the show. It's also pinned in the top of the show. And I advise you to go take a look at that. Even just to look at the prizes and you might just fancy just throwing a little something on it just to see, and there seems to be plenty to be won, so it's worth a shot.
Get involved, people. You know what you need to do, and Daz has told you 39p. Can't get much better than that. But welcome to Football Prizes. Working alongside Loaded Mag and NUFC. There it is. Get involved, boys. Let's talk about transfers now. We always like to set the scene a little bit before we get into whatever we're going to get into, whether it's Kieran Maguire and football finances, whether it's the latest news and trends and things that are going on right now. But first of all, we just need to remind people, if you need reminding, that we're the Carabao Cup winners 2025. And our manager...
When did that happen?
When did that happen? Our manager made that happen 2 weeks ago. So just a little reminder of that. And what that allows us to do is to play European football, minimum Europa Conference League. Just wanted to put that out there. Just a reminder as well of the fact that we're still in the Champions League race. And with that, boys, the current coefficient as it stands.
Oh, nice.
So England are currently top. I've only put the top 4 in there because really it's the only top 2 that matter. So we've got the kind of the chasing pack of Italy just behind, and then we've got Spain and we have Germany in 4th place. So at this moment in time, boys, with 5 out of 7 clubs still in Europe, 3 out of 8 for Italy. So that goes in our favour. 4 out of 7 for Spain, 3 out of 8 for Germany. So looking at that, looking confident, boys. Looks like we've pretty much got that fifth spot because it's the top 2, remember?
So it's top. Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask you. It's the top 2. I didn't realize it was 2. That's even better again.
Yeah.
So yeah, look at it. It's a done deal. Fifth spot will get you Champions League. Has to be.
Yeah.
I believe last year it was Italy and Germany that got it.
Yes.
So they were the top 2. I think we fell 3rd or maybe even 4th. I can't remember. But currently we're well away, and they have said that obviously it looks like that we're going to be sort of nailed on to collect that coefficient extra fifth spot. So going back to that point, boys, 5th spot looks like it's going to be there, and we're right in the race for it. So hopefully we can go on and secure that. We'll talk about that another day. What I wanted to talk about is another way of setting the scene, boys, is look, we know it's going to be a massive summer for us, and we're going to talk about some of the signings and potential signings and all the rest of it that goes along with that. But one other crucial deal that may allow us to spend a little bit more that we've already talked about in January is this man, Lloyd Kelly. Now, we know through social media and various other things, he hasn't had the best time at Juventus, albeit he has been playing. But I'm not sure people are aware, but Thiago Motta was sacked the other day as Juventus manager. And Igor Tudor has come in as manager pretty much straight away, which has posed some questions, boys, about whether Lloyd Kelly is going to play or not, and people were a little bit worried about that. But as far as we're aware, it's not the fact that he needs to play matches that will sign the deal, the 20 million. It's a case of where Juventus finish. And just wanted to put in here, this was a quote from somewhere, I can't remember where I got it from now. But it said, despite the change, Juventus are obliged to buy Kelly if they qualify for Europe. So it doesn't specify what European competition, but in Europe. And it says the Italian Giants are currently 5th in the Serie A table. So they are still in a position where they would achieve that, but the final 9 games of the season could see them slip out of those spots. So it kind of throws a little bit of a slight question mark there. But I just wanted to ask, are you boys worried about that deal potentially not going through if they don't get Europe?
Can you put up the coefficient thing one more time? I want to see where Italy are now.
Second.
I'd be happy there now if we finish like that, because that'll give the Italians an extra spot and it might help us out. Am I worried? A bit, but not too worried. Because look, I'd like us to sell Lloyd Kelly now after him sitting out on loan, and it just adds to our pot of cash for the summer. So, no, I'm not worried. I think even if Juventus didn't qualify for Europe, I think we might get another taker somewhere else. Maybe not at that price though. But no, not worried. Too many other things to worry about.
Okay, Chris, what are your thoughts with regards to this? In fact, I've got the Serie A table, so I'll just drop it up now. So.
I've literally just pulled it up myself, actually, Pierre, yeah. when you're in the middle of talking about it. So as it stands, top 6 get Europe. If Italy finish second in that coefficient, which it looks like they should, it will be top 7. Now, obviously, for Juventus to fall out of there, they're currently 4 points staying in as things stand. I mean, you'd hope Igor Tudor's going to have an impact. You'd hope Juventus can turn it around. They've got plenty of quality in the squad. Do you know what, though, Pete? I wouldn't be devastated. I wouldn't be devastated if the deal didn't go through. And the reason I say that is because let's not forget, Lloyd Kelly is still a good centre-back. And I think he's still a player who could do a job in this team. The reason that we, put him up for, the reason that we agreed to the deal with Juventus was because the fee was too good to turn down. 20 million for Lloyd Kelly. I think it's a really, really good price, particularly when you've signed him on a free transfer. I know some people out there will be saying, "Oh, there was a fee involved and he had to sign on fee, etc., etc." But without going into it, we've made a good few quid on Lloyd Kelly if the deal goes through. But I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and I don't think Lloyd Kelly has turned into a bad player overnight. I think if he was to come back to Newcastle, he will have learned from his experience in Serie A abroad in Italy, and I think it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. We've already said, haven't we, boys, that we're a little bit shy in centre of defence, and we know that Jamal Lascelles is going to be leaving in the summer. It certainly looks that way. So it's not that Lloyd Kelly will be surplus to requirements as such. That being said, I still want the deal to go through because it is a really good chunk of money, and it's it's money that we can reinvest. But I don't think we're getting an awful player back within the squad. Is what I'm saying. So it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But it's a really, really interesting point, Pete, because I wasn't aware until you've just flashed it up then. I was of the understanding that this obligation was basically watertight. I didn't realise that it was Europe dependent. So that we're going to be keen to watch Juventus's form in the last 9 games of the season, because obviously that could have an impact. Ideally, they're in those Champions League places. Let's not forget, they are 1 point off Champions League as it stands. So, it's not beyond the realms that, they put a few wins together and secure that Champions League spot. And hopefully they do. And then it's not even a conversation because for all we know, as you've just said in that article, you would think it would be, Europe full stop. But who knows? It could be Champions League. So we'll just have to wait and see, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I know you said you're not worried about that. Worried about it, Daz. Obviously, fifth spot. It looks like there's a bit of a gap there to the top 3.
Yes.
It looks like Inter, Napoli, Atlanta are kind of running away with it. But as we say, they're currently second. I know Frieden says they're third, but I've looked at the coefficient, the most up to date one, and it does say that they're second. So it could well change potentially. But they're in. It looks like, from what I'm looking at the moment, they're in second. So let's wait and see. But again, we could do Juventus watch on full transfer shows in the weeks building up towards the end of the season to see if that money is going to be guaranteed in the door. But I just wanted to kind of just set the scene really, because they're kind of important things that will potentially impact on Newcastle United's ability to sign in the summer and ultimately be able to sign some of the players. So look, what I wanted to do tonight, boys, with you guys, is talk through. I want to talk through attackers. I want to talk through the attacking players. We'll talk through the players that make the difference at the top end of the pitch. And I think it's only right, if you guys are happy with this, to start with the right winger, the priority position. Mostly because there's so many links, there's so many things to talk about, and so many things to dismiss. So let's do our dismissals first. And look, Chris, I know you were very eager to talk about this one, so we'll throw it up right now and we'll have a conversation on it. So one of our well, I say right winger, but winger, because he does actually play on the left, is a link with this man.
Yeah.
Now, look, obviously, he's our favourite Man City at the moment, injured quite a bit this season, and it does look like they are going to move him on in the summer. But the Chronicle did report that there was a link with him to Newcastle United. So, look, I give you right to reply first on this one, Chris. Talk to us about what you think with regards to Jack Grealish and any potential move with Newcastle United.
Yeah. This one made me laugh because the article I saw, and obviously the one you've put on there is similar. Said that Jack Grealish was keen on a move to Newcastle United, and I thought, well, yeah, I don't blame him either. Coming to a club where he would have a really good chance of being in the starting 11 most weeks. He'd be working under a fantastic coach in Eddie Howe, but being realistic about it, boys, he's not an Eddie Howe type player, is he? He's not someone I think who we'll be aiming for. He's the wrong side of 25. He's on very high wages, and I'm sure City would probably want to offload him. And given that they paid 100 million for him, they would probably be hoping to recoup at least 40, 50 million. And again, I just don't think we'd go there. But I just thought it was an interesting link, particularly with the Miggy Almiron stuff in the past, where he was so publicly harsh towards Miggy Almiron. But yeah, I think it's always nice when you hear about these type of players being linked or interested with a move to your club, because Jack Grealish is a really, really good player, but he's not an Eddie Howe type player, and I don't think he's someone that our board would necessarily go for. I don't think he fits the mold of a winger that we play with. But yeah, I just thought it was an interesting link.
Yeah, definitely. Daz, you got an opinion on this one?
Yep, that is not happening. No, Jack Grealish. Look, in fairness to him, we've had a bit of interaction with him through his career. Like he won us the championship with that goal that made us leapfrog Brighton to clinch the trophy when we got promoted. You'll remember the Miguel Almiron comment as well that spurred Miggy on. And I remember when we were playing as well, and he said, "These are shite." One stage, and he was right. But yeah, but no, he's done for me. He's not. We're going in a different direction, and not bringing in players who are probably past their peak. And he's definitely not an Eddie Howe type player. He's where he I think he needs to move away from City though. I'm not sure where he go, but it won't be Newcastle.
Yeah, I agree. Nothing more to add on that. Definitely not a player that Newcastle United will be looking at. And so we move on. Now, a player that we were actually really interested in looking at. And hold on 1 second. Do you want to... Sorry, Chris, was there a comment you wanted to?
Yeah, no, sorry, boy, I didn't want to interrupt the flow, but no, I just wanted to say, Ronald Turnbull, he's only got in with 77 tickets. Good man.
Nice one,
and Ronald, fingers crossed, mate, fingers crossed. But you're giving yourself a great chance there. 39p a ticket, and Ronald's bought 77 tickets. Ronald, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you, mate. Fantastic, that you put yourself in that draw. I'm just looking now again for the link, just to remind anyone at home who's watching and wants to get involved. The link's there, but just click on football prizes, and when you get in there, you'll see, and obviously go to the Newcastle United section, and you will find.
We don't do the draw, by the way. Just people. There'll be a lot of one big spinny wheel though. 35,000.
Imagine the spinny wheel.
But no, we don't do the draw. You can watch it. You can watch it live, I think.
Yeah. Get involved, put your prizes. That's for sure. And a player that we have been linked with, boys, and we talked about him in January actually. But there's been some news coming out today. I want to get your thoughts on this one. It's Tyler Dibling, a player that we've talked about a lot, player that we've admired a lot as a club. But an interesting article came out today. From John Percy. Southampton want over 100 million for Tyler Dibling. With Tottenham and Man City linked to him quite heavily. Current valuation is frustrating. Interested clubs ahead of the summer window and potential summer bids. Boys, what do you make of this? 100 million.
That's ridiculous.
Tyler Dibling.
Crazy. Even in a world where the PSR does not exist, that's ridiculous. 100 million for someone. He's a great talent. I'd be delighted if we would be signing, but we're not. I have no control over that.
Taz's getting all the blame.
and I don't have even control over our own one. It does its own thing. He's an excellent player, and he will have a great future. But if they're talking 100 million, forget it. We have to move on. I could go 45 million kind of figure for him, but nothing close to 100 million. Ridiculous.
Yeah, Daz has gone 45. What would you kind of price him at? Certainly not 100 million. It's just crazy money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with what Genius has just said. Then I think Southampton are maybe putting out messages to try and put people off. But let's be honest, that price significantly reduces if it is 100 million. It significantly reduces as soon as their relegation is confirmed, which it will be in
about 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's not far away, is it? Yeah, to be honest,
Michael behind you.
I think Daz is on the money there. I think about 45 million is a fair price. Maybe you could sneak 40, possibly, but if someone was to come in with say 35, 40, rising to 45, I think Southampton take it. I really, really do. He looks a fantastic prospect. He doesn't look out of place in the Premier League, which is credit to him. And from games I've seen where Southampton have played, he's been like the shining light. So he's certainly a prospect, and he's certainly a player, who deserves a decent transfer. If you don't get me wrong, because he is a great age. But I think as well, you've got to factor in, he made a very early move to Chelsea in his career, didn't he? Which didn't last very long, and then he quickly went back to Southampton. So there will be clubs out there as well who are thinking, well, we don't want the same to happen to us, and we don't want to invest all this money in this young lad who maybe isn't ready for the move. So 100 million's crazy. I think they would be lucky to get 50 million, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Actually, I would say he's probably. I wouldn't be paying even 45 for him. I just wouldn't. Like he's a super talent, young talent, but still, you'd want to see at least a full season's worth of that ability if you're going to pay anywhere between 45 and 50 million for him. I'd say around 30. I wouldn't go any higher than 35. But I think, and it's interesting what Jeannie Esther said, because I actually think. It's almost like they're trying to create a scramble for him in the summer. Like, and this is part of the problem. Remember when we talked about Kusanov in the January window? Like we were linked with him, and Mark Douglas talked about it numerous times. It was around between 20 and 25 million. As soon as Man City come in, boom, price goes up. So the fact that Tottenham and Man City are in that conversation, they're just going to think. Top 6 club, got to shed loads of money, bang, let's whack the price up. And for me, I think that link there, sorry, from John Percy, the fact that doesn't say Newcastle United in it, considering how closely we were linked with him in January, tells a story. I think at this point, with our ship sailed with him. He's not the sort of player we're going to be putting so much money on. I'll ask you this one last thing, and I think we talked about it before, but I'll ask you it again. Would you want Tyler Dibling to be your number one priority right wing signing in the summer?
No. No, but it all depends on the price, Pete. If you give me 5 players and the prices of them, then I could answer the question. So if you're giving them to me for say 35 million, yes, I take them, definitely.
Yeah.
But if you're comparing him to Bryan Mbeumo, for example, and he's 55, 60 million, and if they're both the same price, then you're going for Mbeumo. But I know Dibling is only 19, so there's a lot of factors of variables that you'd have to take into consideration to really answer that, though.
Mm.
What do you think, Chris? Would he be your number one priority signing? Would you be happy with that in the summer?
No, and the reason being is we've said for a long time now, haven't we, lads? We need that right. We keep repeating it, don't we? But I don't know, all Newcastle fans know this. We need a first choice right winger. We need a first choice right centre back. And as a channel, we've all said, and I'm sure again there'll be many fans out there who agree, we need a first choice goalkeeper. That's what we need. And for me, I think Tyler Dibling is an exciting prospect. I think he's a player who's got huge potential. And that's not to say I don't want him, but will Tyler Dibling be a week in, week out first team player for the team, a Newcastle United team who will want to secure, who will definitely want to secure top 4 football next season? And I think the answer is no. For me, he's a little bit of a Will Asula in the sense that he's a prospect. He's somebody who's got bags of talent, and he's somebody who he's probably on a higher trajectory than Will Asula. I'm not suggesting that Will Asula and Tyler Dibling are like that, but he's a player who you want to work with, and in 2 or 3 years' time, you hope he comes good. I don't think he's first team ready now. I just don't. I can't see him in the starting 11 week in, week out for Newcastle United next season. Just can't see it.
Yeah, I'm in that boat. If I'm getting a Tyler Dibling, I don't see him being the main right wing signing that our priority that we've been waiting for almost 3 years. I just don't see him coming in and being that guy. I think in a few years' time, maybe he'd probably be the next one you'd sign to come in and be the next guy in a few years' time once he's hit the heights. But yeah, not right now. I'd see him almost as a Jacob Murphy replacement, as a sort of backup, more so than a starting right winger. So and that's, for me, that's where our interest ends as Newcastle United, because you're not going to be paying that type of money for a right wing backup. And let's be honest, Murphy's not going anywhere. He's not. He's going to be there next season, and we are going to have a first choice right winger ahead of him. So for me, I just don't see it. But yeah, quite possibly more of an established player, and I think that kind of brings us quite nicely on, actually, because I was going to talk about one other, and we'll maybe sort of come back to that in a second. It kind of brings us nicely on to maybe more established players that we've been linked with, and look, Bryan Mbeumo is the one that continues to be talked about as a Newcastle United option. There's been no sort of recent links at the moment, but we know Newcastle United are interested in him. There's been talks of other players in Europe, and we'll bring one or two of them up in a second. But is he still the guy that you would want to be Newcastle United's right winger next season? Would he be your number one choice, Daz, to target in the summer?
Again, it's hard to answer, because I'm putting in the caveats of what price could we get him for. If we can get him 50 million, yes, definitely bring, because he's playing right wing and he can score goals, and he's a backup as well. If we still need that actually, I have another option with that as well, but I'll say that later. He's an alternative to Isak as well to play up front. So he ticks 2 boxes there. But if you're quoting me 70 million or something like that, then I don't know. I don't think we go that much for him. And they're going to want big bucks, because what's that left in his contract?
He's got 1 year left, lads. He's got 1 year left. In the summer, there's only one. Yeah. This is the thing. This is the thing, and this is why I'm glad you brought up that, because that was going to be the next thing that I was going to talk about, is that actually let's just put it out there: 20 goal contributions this season, 20 goal contributions for Brentford, who are sitting mid-table, 15 goals, 5 assists. The output is there. Isn't that the type of signing that we wanted for our right wing? Who has that output? So I'll kind of ask you both again. 1 year left on his contract. How much do you think we could get him for if we were going to get him? And now, thinking about that contract, could it be more likely?
Well, I think there's going to be a bit of a bidding war if they're willing to sell. Just slap in a 50 million offer, see what happens. But I think you're going to have others knocking on the door as well.
What do you think, Chris?
I think I didn't know he has a year, Pete. Again, really good information there. I think 50 million gets him. But do you know what? The Newcastle of old, if this was under Mike Ashley, the Newcastle of old, I think would lowball, and we wouldn't get him. And I think that's the issue. If you want the player, you have the negotiations, you thrash it out, you put the money on the table, you get it done. That's what needs to happen. If you want Bryan Mbeumo and you're serious about getting Bryan Mbeumo, that's what you need to do. If you lowball, as Daz mentioned earlier, and you then get into a bidding war, you're in trouble. because if Mo Salah leaves Liverpool, which we expect he may well do, even though, a few months back, I think everybody thought he would eventually sign a deal, but the more it's creeping towards the end of the season, it's looking more likely that he'll leave. He's going to be very high on their list, very, very high on their list. And not only him, it could be Tottenham, it could be Man United, it could be, and yes, you would like to think that Bryan Mbeumo would choose us over Tottenham and Man United, but the more clubs that are interested, the more difficult the deal is to do. We've already spoken about this 2-window theory, haven't we, Pete? And that a lot of clubs will not be in a position to buy players before the end of June, but apparently we may well be, and this would be the opportunity to go and get Bryan Mbeumo if he's the one that you want. If he's the one that the coaching staff, the owners, the boards have identified, they need to just go and get him. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to him. Do you know what? When you asked the question to Daz, I was sitting there thinking he's probably not my first choice, but then I struggled to then think of my first choice. I think if the deal if the bid got put in, I think I'd be very excited, because you can't, like you've just said, Pete, you can't argue with those stats. You can't argue with them. They're there. And this is in a Brentford side who, with all due respect to Brentford, are pretty average. They are a very good mid-table Premier League side. And I think the aspiration of this board, of this club, was always to try and look at clubs who are, around us, below us, and get their best players. And Bryan Mbeumo is a prime example of doing just that. So I maybe it's the conversation we have with Alex when Alex came on and started talking about transfers, and he did speak about right wingers, and he said that he felt that Bryan Mbeumo wasn't a good fit for Newcastle. So maybe that's what's putting me off slightly. I don't know, and Alex knows his stuff far better than what I do. So maybe that's what in the back of my mind's putting me off a little bit. But I think if the bid went in and the rumours started, spiraling, I think I would get excited about the deal.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'd be the same. I know when Alex did come on, he talked about Bryan Mbeumo struggling in a low block, and I think that's what threw a lot of the people that watch the show, and it definitely threw us thinking, oh, actually, maybe he's got a point. But he's still got the outlet there in the final ball, whether it's the assist or the goal to back it up, and he's done that this season. And like we said, in a Brentford team that's mid-table. He is the guy. The only thing would be the price tag, but the fact that he's got a year left on his contract actually puts us in a really, really strong position. But I think it might be yourself, Daz, that touched on it. But who do you think could be in competition with us for Bryan Mbeumo? Because I think that's it's looking like he's probably going to stay in England. Who would you say is genuinely out there that's actually going to be in a position to go, they could go toe-to-toe with Newcastle. They're desperate for a right winger. They could genuinely take it. Because I'm struggling to think of anyone that we couldn't necessarily compete with.
Would Liverpool look at him? With Salah potentially even, they'll need to replace someone that can play in that kind of position. And he's proven in the Premier League. It might be, I don't know, would they go for someone look at the European market? But to me, that wouldn't be a bad move for them if Salah was to fly the cup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Would you think Liverpool, Chris, any other team that shoots out for you that thinks that we could be in a potential sort of war with them to get them?
Well, you can rule out Arsenal. You can rule out Tottenham. I did mention Tottenham, but you can't rule out Tottenham because I think they're stocked in the right wing position. They've got Brennan Johnson and they've got Kulusevski who can play there, so probably not Tottenham. Man United would struggle to attract him, if I'm honest, unless of course they offered silly wages. But I don't know if they're in a position to do that. Liverpool for me, Liverpool are the big threats. And yeah, I'd say probably Liverpool, because I think Bryan Mbeumo, even if Chelsea came in for him, I think he'd be absolutely insane to join Chelsea. And I don't see Man City going for them anytime soon because they also are quite stocked on wingers. I think the main threat's Liverpool. So it's not as if we've got a whole host of clubs, that we should potentially be worried about. But this is why we need to get in there and get the deal done ASAP. I'm sure Bryan Mbeumo probably wants to stay in the Premier League. I don't see why he wouldn't. But you want to just get that done, and you don't want to give other clubs opportunity. And certainly, if one of these other big six clubs were to come in and go, we'll give you 250 grand a week, and then he comes back to Newcastle and goes, well, I do want to join you, but they're offering me 250 grand a week. It puts us in a position. It puts us in a horrible position.
Chris, after you sold Saka to us yesterday from Arsenal, would Arsenal go from then? That'll be their replacement.
Hey, I tell you what,
don't even answer that.
He'd be a good replacement. He was, but no, I Arsenal do need another right winger. I know they've got Ethan Nwaneri, but he seems to be playing in the 8 recently, I believe. But they do need a backup for Saka, but Bryan Mbeumo isn't going there to be number 2. No. Definitely not. No. And this is the advantage we've got because we offer him first team football. He plays week in, week out.
It's an interesting one. I agree. I agree. Liverpool will be the main threat to take him if Salah leaves. And to be fair, we talked about it last night. It looks like he is. It doesn't look like he's going to sign a deal unless something drastically changes. So they are going to need a right winger, and I think he's the one going to Champions League, Premier League champion. Elect is probably more of an incentive for him. So that would be a shame.
That year's key. What you mentioned, that's key. I didn't realise that's really bad for Brentford. It's bad.
Yeah, it is. It's not an ideal situation for them. But again, when you get into that 2 year period, you either sign a new deal or you have to sell. Otherwise, you're going to reduce. Like I think I think anything around 40 million, I think could actually probably get him.
40.
I do. I think anywhere between anywhere between 40 and 50 million. I don't think Brentford will get the 60 million or so that they want for him or would want for him, because I just don't think teams will pay it. And I think that I don't think they're going to want to do what Ivan Toney did is sort of like try and run down his contract. I don't think they're good. I don't think they'd want to be in that position. I think they'd be really stupid to be in that position to do that again with one of their other top players, because a team like Brentford, or who are very well run, could be a team like Brighton that transfer in for a significant fee and then able to reinvest it. So I do see that happening. But Liverpool, I wasn't sure on Forest being in the Champions League.
Yeah,
Anthony Elanga there, whether they want to trade up with someone that's got better output, I don't know. They've obviously got a little bit of money. Villa, I weren't sure if they were to sell Bailey and reinvest, but it's whether Villa are even in Europe next season. Who knows? And Brighton are in the same boat. Brighton got about
so many wingers.
They've got 8 right wings. They don't need him. So we're in that.
Just stick with Brentford for just one quick comment. They've also got Christian, looking at your list, Chris, they've also got Christian Norgard, who's coming to the end of his contract as well. So like they want to do something. They don't want to lose more than one player on a free after you said, Pete, the Tony.
Can I add to that as well, Daz? Because Bryan Mbeumo is not the only one that's got a year left in his contract, because Johan Wiesler.
Oh, mate.
They haven't. He's got a year left on his contract in the summer.
Oh, because Forest lowballed them, didn't he? In January, Forest lowballed them.
And that's why. Because they know his contract's running down. I couldn't believe it. No. He's 28 years old. He scored 14 Premier League goals this season.
Yeah.
And he's got a year left on his contract, which could be a conversation for when we switch over to the strikers, because we are going to do that, even if it's quickly before the show runs out. But one player I did want to talk about, this right wing is a new link, and I wanted to bring him up because I wanted to talk. All the other ones can wait for another day. And he's made some moves this week for Portugal. And he's the right winger for Sporting Lisbon, and it's Francisco Trincao. Now, some people may remember him or may not remember him. He had a very difficult and disappointing loan spell at Wolves when Wolves were pretty much signing every Portuguese player under the sun. But he's obviously gone back to Portugal, honed his craft, and he's had a very, very good season. And Mark Douglas of the iPaper says, and he put this out even tonight, but he reported it a couple of days ago. The iPaper understands Sporting Lisbon, Francisco Trincao, the former Wolves loanee, is available this summer and is understood to be keen on a move back to the Premier League. Now, just to give you some numbers for those that don't or are not aware of him, where he's a left-footed right winger, which is what Eddie Howe likes. He fits the mold like a Bryan Mbeumo type player. Played 26 games, scored 8 goals this season, and has a whopping 11 assists to his name, including one in the Champions League this season as well. So he's clearly having a good season at this moment in time. He is another one, boys, whose contract runs out in 1 year. Time, so it's another interesting conversation to be had, because I think whether we get these players or not, this is the type of player that I think Paul Mitchell will be looking at. Players that are running down their contracts, that are quality players that could be got for a reasonable fee. Now, I don't know how much you've seen of Trincao. I'll be honest with you, I hadn't watched too much of him, but I did watch when he came on against. When he comments through me. The goat father, I love that. But he did look good when he came on for Portugal, scored 2 goals, 2 really good finishes, by the way. He did look good, but I don't know how much you've seen of him, boys. Just initial thoughts on Trincao. Hopefully, he's one we'll be covering a little bit more as the season goes on.
After that comment, I'd have to say I've never seen him before in my life.
Neither am I. Portugal the other night.
And I've actually never seen him. I haven't really. I don't know much about him, to tell you the truth, or anything about him. But yeah, look, if his contract is running down, I'm hoping that Paul Mitchell is all over these kind of deals where we can get some bargains. And look, at if he wasn't to work out, then you'll still could sell on again and like break even basically with deals like that.
Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. The fact that he's Portuguese and he's spent a bit of time at Wolves doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I do remember him. I do remember him being at Wolves, but yeah, he didn't quite hit it off. And obviously, he's gone to back to Portugal with Sporting Lisbon and seemingly playing very, very well. I've seen a few clips of him. He's been spoken about a lot in the media. And again, Pete, I can't believe we're having another conversation about a player with only a year left on his contract. What are these clubs thinking? What are they thinking?
Isn't that a theme, though, boys? Because all of these players that we've talked about have been linked with Newcastle United, and some of them heavily linked, and they all have something in common. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, it's a massive factor, it really is, because you automatically say, I don't know, say you value Trincao at a £50 million player, for example. Automatically you go into the table with 30 million because that the club are in a bit of an awkward position, because you go, well, in a year's time, we could just take him for free. So these clubs have to sell, and I still, honestly, my mind's blown off that Brentford information. That is tragic. That is really, really bad.
Don't tell anyone at Everton, Chris. Don't let them know.
Mate, honestly, mate, they're just going to be. Oh no, surely not. Sorry, I'm going off topic here. Surely not, Tanguy Vivers. Surely not. He hasn't got a year left as well, has he?
Oh, let me check.
Imagine.
Yeah, I was looking at him a second ago.
No, Semenyo hasn't. His contract runs out in 2029.
Ah, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'll just bring this one up really quickly, Chris, before you carry on, just because this kind of was part of the dismiss one, because I read this today from Mark Douglas. Put a 70 million price tag on Antoine Semenyo. Well, we've already looked at that, but yeah, that ain't happening.
No.
It ain't happening.
That's the thing with Bournemouth. I was listening to a podcast on the way home today. The owners of Bournemouth, and I didn't realize they were part of the multi-club model, and they're called the Black Knights, and they have like Bournemouth, Auckland, Hibs, FC Lorient, but like they have so many good players that people are looking at them. With like the both central defenders we're looking at, the left back Liverpool are looking at, and Semenya there as well. So you can't see them letting all of them go. So they have to shop. They'll probably like one go, but they have to box clever Bournemouth because they could be in Europe as well next season.
Yeah, no, totally agree. That's totally agree. I think Bournemouth are in a strong position if they've got players who've got a number of years left on the contract, particularly if they're rivals or their players have only got a year left on the contract. Because now my attention after that admission, Pete, my attention's solely focused now on Mbeumo. Semenya is not an option. If he's got 4 years left on his deal, he's not an option because Bournemouth will just go, yeah, we want 70, and in reality, that's probably Mbeumo's true value. But because he's only got a year left on his deal, it drops. Yeah. And then you're like, right, okay, well, now he's the one that we look at. So Bournemouth have done a good job there. They've ensured that, the players that they want to keep are secured. And you're right, Daz. I think they're going to struggle to keep hold of Kirkes, I believe, the left back. I think Liverpool will go heavy on him. He's a great player. He's the only player. I said this to you boys, didn't I? He's the only player this season who I've seen go into like a forceful battle with Joe Linton and squared up to him, and I just thought, you are mental. But I liked that about him. Do you know what I mean? He has a bit of bottle. He scored a really good goal as well, didn't he, against us? But yeah, he looks a real player. I think if they cash in on him, that's probably their money in for the window, and then they can go and improve the squad elsewhere. So I think Semenya is going nowhere.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I butt in?
No,
just one. I want to put it because this is my new fascination. KK was my fascination for so long, and now that he's dead to me, now he's at PSG. He's never coming to Newcastle, and of course we got Anthony Gordon, and he's done so well for us. But this is my new one, and he's back. Roony, he's back playing. Because I just grabbed a few articles. A lot of clubs are looking at him. Look at Spurs and City are on the case now as well. So this is Roony Bardghji, the right winger from playing with Copenhagen, 19-year-old old. He got a bad injury, so he's just actually come back and played about 45 minutes of a game there the other day. So he's on the. You remember before he was training with Wilson at one point as well in the rehab, getting back to fitness, but so he's back now, so he's one to keep an eye on for the remaining games of the season, and just hopefully it goes okay for him first of all. But he could be one. You can pick him up for 8 million. He's one with the contract running out as well. That was my, as we discussed today, Chris. He was my one on the kind of the free transfer kind of list that we should look at. I would have to pay probably a small fee just to make sure of it, but. Really a lot of clubs in for him though.
And you know what makes that one interesting, Daz? And it almost, I like what we're doing here, boys. We're ruling players out. Now that you've brought Roony Bardghji to the table, surely he rules out Tyler Dibling, because you look at the two. For me, he's in the Tyler Dibling mold. He's the kind of player that you bring in who could arguably, as Pete said, be like a Jacob Murphy long-term replacement. You bring him in on a free, and you go, and we still want that right winger, but we've got Roony Bardghji there as the up and coming. That would be a fantastic signing, because he wouldn't command a starting play. Like if you said to me now, Daz, would Roony Bardghji be the starting right winger for Newcastle next season? I'd say probably not. But he would be a fantastic signing, and he would be someone who in 2 or 3 years' time could be the man, could be the main man. So on a free transfer.
Anyhow, do a job in him, like he's done with Hall and so on. He'd be unreal.
You know what's amazing about that, but yeah, and it's that's
why the fee
actually runs out in January. So like it's in December. So like where the contracts normally run out in the summer in June, his doesn't. His runs out in December. So This is. I don't really want to say this out loud just in case other clubs are watching, and they probably are.
They're listening already.
The key to what would be a dream scenario for Newcastle United is that they go and get their right winger in the summer. They have half a season where they're in Europe and whatever, and then they go and pick Roony Bardghji up in January on a free transfer, and then he's added to the squad in the second half of the season. So he's had half a season under his belt. After an ACL, he's back up and running, hopefully playing well, and then we snap him up for January, and then we've strengthened that right-hand side, ready for the back end of next season, which then potentially could mean a natural transition out for Jacob Murphy at the end of 2020.
Totally.
That would be an ideal situation. So then you've got, let's say hypothetically, you're going into the summer with Bryan Mbeumo right wing, just hypothetically here, and Jacob Murphy is your two right wingers going into that season. And then you're adding Roony Bardghji in January off the back of that. And then you've got those three that will see out the season. And then you can potentially, if the club wanted to, move on Jacob Murphy. And you've transitioned
For 50 million.
You've got your two right wingers there. You've got a 26-year-old at that point, 26-year-old Bryan Mbeumo. And then you've got a 20-year-old Roony Bardghji. And you've got that youth and then ready-made experienced player. It'd be like, you're laughing. There you go.
Great point.
It's the dream scenario. It's the dream scenario. If Newcastle is smart, that's what we were doing. And we've got Paul Mitchell in charge. So I wouldn't rule that out. I would not rule that out whatsoever. But it's a great great.
The only worry is that someone else that Copenhagen want to cash out and take some money for him because they know he's going to go anywhere. Let's say, but in the summer, that's the only thing. That's why those fees of 7-8 million is being floated.
But will teams want to take the risk on him because of his ACL and pay a fee for it? Whereas you could potentially pick him up for free, having seen him play for 6 months. You're right in what you're saying.
I know, yeah. It's a gamble. If
it's the smart move would be right. You know he's going to be fine. Go pay 8-10 million for him and go and get him now. But if teams are just holding the fort a little bit, I don't know. It'd be one that you'd want to add to that right wing for sure.
You could even say to them, Pete, couldn't you? Give us him for 5 million, and we'll let you have him on loan for the rest of the season. You could even say something like that. So they release him, but then he stays with the club. So then the club are like, actually, we're getting a few quid, and we get to keep him for the whole season. Yeah. Could be an option, or at least till January even. You could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Boys, we were going to go to another option, but I think we've hit our timer. So I'm suggesting we leave our next section for our next show.
Oh, I love it, Pete. Suspense.
Yeah.
Which is on in half an hour's time, is it?
No, I'm suggesting we stick with right wingers today, which we've covered, and then we go to another section for the next week. And so let's say we're going to look at strikers next week.
Yeah.
And then the next target is centre backs. So we'll look at position.
Just before we go though, Pete, should we? I agree. By the way, let's go right wing for today. Is there any other right wingers, boys, you want to bring up? Any other right wingers while we're on the subject?
There was a couple more that I'd put on there that we've been linked with. If you want me to throw them up,
throw them up as options.
Bash them up there quick. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming Yohan Bakayoko's on there. I'm assuming.
Well, no, he wasn't on there actually. As links, we talked about him extensively in January. But he's always about. We've got him ready to hand. But no, these were two alternative links, boys, that have been linked. And there's a Yeremy Pino at Villarreal, right winger. Hasn't had the best of seasons, I have to say. But friend of the channel, Graham Bailey, had reported that we have joined a growing number of clubs that are looking to sign Yeremy Pino from Villarreal this summer, although it's got Jadon Sancho on there. I've got no idea.
Yeah, he looks awful much like Sancho.
we don't want him. we definitely don't
No.
want Jadon Sancho. And it looks like Chelsea don't want him either. They're willing to pay Man United to give him back. But yeah, Jerry Pino.
Or they're sorry, Pete. Or they're willing to buy him and then flog him to Dortmund. Heard that as well.
Oh,
Anyway, doesn't matter.
That's actually a smart move. To be fair, that would actually be the smart move. If they did that. But Jerry Pino can play on the left hand side, on the left wing, but has predominantly played a lot of his football on the right hand side. Not a good outlet this season. 1 goal and 4 assists. Let me just go back in 24 games played, 17 games started. So it's been a bit of an up and down season this season for him, but he does have a lot of potential, boys. 22 years old, Spanish nationally. That was just one that I was just going to throw out there. I'm not sure how much you've seen of him. I've not seen too much of him this season, but I know Villarreal fans aren't too fussed about him potentially moving on because he hasn't really hit the heights. So just one maybe to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Park
him for the time being. Yeah,
Parking for the time being. But another interesting one. This is quite an exciting one, actually. Particularly if you've been watching, if anyone's been watching the internationals recently, is a Greek international, Konstantinos Karatisas, if I'm pronouncing that right. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Was linked again by Graham Bailey. Newcastle are one of a number of teams that are looking at him now. If anyone watched the game against Scotland at Hampden Park, he scored an absolute rasper into the far corner. Really, really good technical goal. Now I think he's a young lad. I'll get his information up actually. There he is. 17 years old. Left-footed right winger. Can play on the right wing. Can play as a number 10. Like I say, he scored the other day. But again, he's another interesting player that really is come sort of left field. Again, don't know if you watched the game, lads. Don't know if you saw anything of him. But again, it was just another name to throw out there because it's a player that I'd not really looked at or even heard of before.
Never heard of him either. He came from Genk, not Ghent. So we came from Ghent, we get our scout on. Thanks, Moxie, for the reminder of that one before. But he played for Belgium right through like under 15s, under 16s, under 17s, under 21s, and then switched allegiances to Greece. So, interesting.
Foxy loves transfer shows. He loves it. I love Foxy bringing all these names in that I've never even heard of.
When's he coming on? When are you coming on, Foxy?
He needs to.
Always welcome.
Yeah.
You know,
he does.
But yeah. So another one to keep an eye on. 17-year-old right winger, young, is another option. So as you talked about, Roony Bardghji, Konstantinos Karatisas is another one of a young player. Almost like the Tyler Dibling mold, the Roony Bardghji, the Karatisas. Are they the younger options that we're looking at? Just one to keep an eye on, but he did score a technically very, very good goal, and he looked really busy when he did play a few minutes the other night. So they were just kind of my other right wing options, just to talk about of two different options that were linked with Newcastle United. That was all. So I just wanted to throw them out there as options to talk about, lads. But anything else to add before we wrap? Yeah, all the names are coming out now. After Bologna, Orsolini, good player.
No, we will circle around to right wingers again as we move through the transfer window shows.
Definitely. Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, do you know what? And the reason I flashed this up from Geniesta is because I was going to ask you boys not about Kudus, but I was going to ask you about Bowen. I was going to say, is Bowen a ship that is sailed for you boys now? And let's throw Kudus in the conversation. For me, I think I think Kudus hasn't had the best of seasons, has he? But I don't know whether I have the feeling he's not had the best of seasons because he's already got one foot up the door and he's already going somewhere. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. That's how I feel about it. Bowen, back in the day, I feel like that's that ship has sailed. He's a really good player, but I think given who his girlfriend is or his wife, I think that's not going to happen. But yeah, and he hasn't got 1 year left on his deal, so we're not interested.
No,
Bowen's never coming.
So 2030, he's still got 5 years, fresh 5 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, as Dad said, he's not coming. He'd have to divorce his wife and fight his father-in-law before he got to Newcastle. I think he'd want to play for Newcastle.
Yeah.
And it's injury. I love Jared Bowen. I think he's absolute quality.
Yeah.
Some people that rate him, I think he's absolutely brilliant. But going back to the Mohamed Kudus, a lot of West Ham fans have been quite concerned about him because he hasn't played well, and he didn't play well against us either. Considering he's been the main man for them, he hasn't really played well at all. And I think you're right, Chris. I think there's an element of him maybe just playing within himself. I don't know if he's got a move set up, but I think he wants out. Because if you look at West Ham's situation, they're not getting European football. And let's be honest, when he's on his day, he's a player that probably deserves to play European football at least. I'm not saying Champions League, but I'm saying he should be playing European football. He's that good.
He should.
And I think, I don't know whether, I could be wrong here, boys. I don't know whether he's underperforming because he's got a release clause in the summer of something like 70 or 80 million or something like that. Now, the way he's playing now, nobody's going to pay for him. However, if he drops his performances, could it maybe mean that a team comes in for him at a lower fee to try and get that deal done because he's underperformed this season? It almost justifies the team to come in and go, right, you had this release clause now. He ain't worth that. Look at what he performed last season, but we're willing to do a deal at 55, 60 million and maybe get a deal done there. And that might interest someone like another team to maybe pick him up. From that point of view. Whether that's the case, I don't know. But interesting. One to keep an eye on, I think he does one out of West Ham. But yeah. But boys, look, I think we should wrap at this point. We've covered all of the right wingers. We're going to come back with some strikers. Maybe next week we'll keep you on your toes on that one. We'll discuss after the show. But
yeah,
it's been a great chat. Really enjoyed that. Some interesting players to talk about. And as always, the likes of Foxy and others in the chat putting your suggestions in there. This is why we love the Fully Loaded Transfer shows, because it's not just us boys talking about names. It's you, everyone else in the chat that's throwing names in the hat as well. And hey, this is what this is all about. It's an open discussion.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Nice one.
Brilliant.
That is it. We'll see out with this, and we'll end with the radiators as well, because someone was asking about getting radiators, so we'll put a video of radiators.
Anyway,
Friday, I think it was Friday.
Yeah, there it is.
Yes, where should he go? We'll send you this here. And if you're looking for those radiators, Freuden, or are you really Russ in disguise? Who knows? You can contact Russ at theradiatorshed.com or 077-666-04112. So there you go. That's the first fully loaded transfer as we make our way towards the summer. So plenty more of these to come. I know you'll be with us along the way. See you in the next one, everyone. Go on.